African Americans encouraged to move to Ghana for investment opportunities and connection with their roots also find supportive community to nurture their business ideas.
Providing an opportunity for participants to create solutions for the benefit of Nigeria, the Central Bank of Nigeria launches the third edition of the biannual RT200 Non-Oil Export Summit. One of the themes uppermost on our minds today, as I welcome you to the show that goes around the world to bring you stories from near and far. I am Bukola Koka here at Channels Television, and I'm joined by Vincent Makori from Voice of America in Washington, D.C.
Well, thanks, I'm Vincent Makori of the Voice of America. Happy to be with you again for another edition of Africa 54. Let's start off with the latest from Nigeria. Channels Television brings you that story.
To tackle the challenges of foreign flows to the country, the Central Bank of Nigeria has launched the third edition of the biannual RT200 Non-Oil Export Summit in Lagos, southwest Nigeria. According to the Central Bank Governor, Godwin Emefiele, the summit provides an opportunity for participants to synergize and prefer solutions for the benefit of Nigeria.
Of Union Bank.
Central Bank Governor, members of the Bankers Committee, as well as other high-level stakeholders are here in Lagos, southwest Nigeria for the third edition of the biannual RT200 Non-Oil Export Summit.
I am saying this because
a cardinal pillar of the RT200 FX program launched in February 2022 by the Central Bank to tackle the challenges of foreign flows to the country through boosting non-oil sector capacity.
when he started this project.
15 months after its introduction, the CBN governor provides an update on the RT200 program.
Available data shows that repatriation due to the program increased by 40% from $3 billion in 2021 to $5.6 billion at the end of 2022. In the first quarter of 2023, a total of $1.7 billion was repatriated to the economy, while about $970 million was sold into the INA window year to date.
Now the central bank is taking a hard stance on shipping companies with undocumented export cargo.
The central bank will be beaming some searchlights on undocumented exports. And we had advised the shipping lines at that meeting that we would also be monitoring, and if we find that they export cargoes without documentation, that we will penalize them, including placing their accounts on PND, post-no debit, and I'm sure we all know what post-no debit means.
Meanwhile, the CBN encourages all exporters to take advantage of the loan facilities available through local banks aimed at sourcing export proceeds to benefit the economy. However, there are some reservations over the provision of more funds to create value in the non-oil sector.
We have seen that our exporters, some of them needed help to be helped with the importers on the other side. And we also had quality issues. People export things to the UK and then they get sent back to them and they lose money. So we made sure that we held the FITC, and the essence was to get the regulators and the quality control people from the UK government to come to our expo.
In light of the successes recorded so far, the general consensus at the summit seems to be that more has to be done to raise more export earnings for the country.
Thank you very much.
Now, joining me to look at the prospects of this is the lead consultant, 3T Impex Consulting, Dr. Bamidele Ayemibo. Welcome to Africa 54.
Thank you very much for having me.
Yes, and as we start off, what's Nigeria doing to help the non-oil sector so that we can move away from being a mono economy to a diversified economy?
The government is trying to do a lot because it's become necessary because of the challenge we're currently facing in the sector, particularly issue with foreign exchange inflow into Nigeria. CBN and Nigerian Export Promotion Council are trying to do different initiatives. On the part of Nigerian Export Promotion Council, they have what is called Export for Survival Initiative that was launched last year. And the part of CBN, we also have another program launched last year called the RT200 FX. That's the race towards generating $200 billion in the next 5 years. The only challenge I have is the fact that there's no synergy such that these can be done together. But more importantly also is the fact that we are not hearing the presidency talking about this. Just the way when the Anchor Boreal program was launched, how the president was talking about it, the minister was talking about it. We have not seen that happening within the export space, even though the government agencies are trying to do a lot by themselves. But it would be good if the president can own this initiative to be able to salvage Nigeria and help us generate more forex into the country.
You're saying that you're not seeing a synergy between the CBN and the Export Promotion Council. What can be done to address that?
That's why I mentioned the presidency. The president hired both of them. So he will be able to get them to work together. They are both working for the same government to be able to help the government to achieve whatever they have promised Nigeria. So the president should find a way to bring them together. So we shouldn't be seeing two initiatives launched. We should have one initiative launched by the federal government, the president, and then all the agency or government concerned galvanizing around it so that we can have a synergy and be able to get the desired result.
Now, pardon me if I may ask, how will, the fact that we have parallel markets, the official exchange rate and then the, the Bureau de Change exchange rates, how will this help this goal of the RT200 or work against it if you catch my drift?
The goal of RT200 is actually to converge, to increase FS generation, so as to make FS available and crash the price so that they can be convergent. That's the goal of the RT200. So with the RT200, if we're able to achieve that objective, we will have a lot of dollar supply in the country. The price will come down, and then we'll be able to have a convergence between the parallel market and the R&E window. That's the objective. So that's the whole essence of having RT200, to be able to generate more foreign exchange and make Naira appreciate and drop the exchange rate price.
Now, if the states in Nigeria are giving the autonomy to control mineral resources within their domain and exploit them for economic purposes, will this boost the non-oil sector?
When you say giving them autonomy, nobody is stopping state from doing whatever they want to do right now. Any state giving that narrative is not ready to do any work. All the state need to do is to set up a special purpose vehicle, get a license from the federal government and explore in their state and then pay royalties to the government. So the federal government is not in any way stopping any state from exploring what is in their state. If the state is ready, the state will set up a business unit, maybe with a private sector, get the license from the government. If a private sector can get a license, a state government can easily get a license from the government and pay royalty, which is very small, to the federal government. So nothing right now is stopping state government from exploring all that they have in their state. What has happened to Nigeria is that the state governor never come in to explore those resources in their state. They come in to wait for money coming from Abuja to share.
What counsel perhaps do you have for Nigerian exporters in the area of, the quality of the goods that are being exported? Can they measure up, to the quality of goods by these other countries where there are more exporters and where the space is very competitive?
The issue of quality, many countries have fixed it. And what they did is to ensure no product leave the country that is of bad quality. So Nigeria needs to set a minimum standard. If you are shipping ginger, this is the minimum standard. You are shipping sesame seed, this is the minimum standard. If you are shipping cocoa, this is the minimum standard. So that when it gets to the port or the agency of government check it, if the quality is low, take it back. Let it be used locally. Don't send it abroad. So if there's some country that when you go below the minimum standard, the good will not leave the country. When we do that, naturally, both the exporter and the farmer will adjust. If we do that, we'll solve this problem once and for all.
Mr. Bamidele Ayemi, we hope that the relevant government agencies are taking notes and are, making the right moves, to make the industry competitive for Nigerian export players. I want to thank you very much for your time and contributions on Africa 54. Mr. Bamidele Ayemi is the lead consultant, 3T Impex Consulting. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
We want to know what you think about Africa 54 and the stories we cover. Join the conversation on Facebook. The address is Africa 54, and check out our headlines 24/7 on voaafrica.com. After the break, after the country's only radiology machine breaks down, a Zimbabwean actress campaigns to find a new radiotherapy machine to treat cancer in government hospital. Welcome back to Africa 54. I'm Vincent McCory in Washington. A Zimbabwean actress battling cancer has asked wealthy citizens to buy a radiology machine for government hospitals because she says the country's only unit has stopped working. As Columbus Mavunga reports from Harare, many blame Zimbabwe's high mortality rate among cancer patients on the country's poor state of healthcare.
Tinopona Tintin Katsande, a Zimbabwean actress, says she's almost done with hair treatment for cervical cancer at a private hospital. She says the government hospitals had no working radiotherapy machines, so her family helped raise money for radiation therapy at a private hospital. Katsande says she has met other cancer patients who have not been so lucky.
My peers that I have met in support groups. Just when I penned that, I had lost 6. I lost 6 women with such potential and with such vibe and with such power that had been taken down, through cervical cancer, particularly even. Because treatment cannot be completed without the service of the radiotherapy.
Jennifer Juliet Mgonda from Kadoma, a mining town about a 2-hour drive southwest of Harare, has cancer too. She says doctors at a local government hospital asked her to stop going there and seek help at a private hospital about 400 kilometers away near Zimbabwe's border with Mozambique. She has not been treated for cancer for about 3 years now. She fears for the worst.
So what I know is my failure to get treatment is leading to my death.
Zimbabwe's Ministry of Health did not confirm or deny claims that government hospitals have no working radiotherapy machines and declined VOA's request for further comment. Katsande is asking the country's wealthy citizens to help people like Mgonda.
Some way, somehow, we've got to come together to buy at least one radiotherapy machine. You cannot holistically treat cancer without a full treatment, and one important part of it is the radiotherapy. Without the machine, that cannot be done.
According to Zimbabwe's latest figures, the number of new cancer cases more than doubled to 7,800 from 2009 to 2019. The Zimbabwe Cancer Registry says about 85% of cancer patients delay treatment until it's too late. Columbus Mavunga for VOA News, Harare, Zimbabwe.
Sudanese doctor Makram Walid used to come to Egypt with his family for annual vacations. But as he looks this month at Cairo's Nile, the only thing connecting him to war-ridden Khartoum, he realizes it might take him a long time to return home. Others like him have left illustrious careers and even loved ones in the crisis-torn country, yet are having a hard time getting jobs in their country of refuge.
Mohamed Magoub and his wife Lamis Mohamed took their 3 children, all U.S. citizens, to the capital Khartoum from their home in San Leandro outside San Francisco last June, so that the kids could experience their home country and connect with their extended families. Magoub, 47, later returned to the U.S. for work and would visit the family twice in the ensuing year. But when war erupted on April 15, Magoub woke up feeling powerless, unable to get his family out.
So much anguish and pain, as you feel like your hand tied behind your back. Your hands are tight. You can do nothing. I tried to pull them out of there. I couldn't. I tried to fly in. If I cannot get them out, at least I have to be with them.
Lamis Mohamed, 39, described a never-ending panic of fear and anxiety.
You hear the lot of bombing around you, and that was so bad. There is no food out, there is no hospitals, pharmacies, everything ran out.
It took the Florida-based nonprofit Project Dynamo to get the family to safety.
I was at the point where I lost hope, right? They've been almost 2 weeks. Almost 2 weeks when I called my kids and they are talking to me from underneath of the bed, right? Suddenly they are in a car going to the east of Sudan to Port Sudan. And the very next day they are in Cairo. Brian calling me, it's like with a WhatsApp video call showing like my wife and my kids are safe, laughing and joking. It's wonderful.
After several days of rest in Cairo, Magub was able to book a flight home for his family and their 3 children, Fatima 13, Renard 12, and Abdullah 10. In this latest conflict, Project Dynamo has rescued 140 people from Sudan, either on charter flights out of Port Sudan or via land, with about 300 more people still there asking for help to get out.
It's now time for a short break, and as we prepare for that, let's remind you to visit our website, channelstv.com, for news and programming around the clock. You can also find us at youtube.com/channelsweb. And still to come, meet an Ivorian chocolatier adding value to cocoa beans before they get exported from Ivory Coast.
Welcome back to Africa 54. I'm Vincent McCory in Washington. Ghana has been encouraging African Americans to move to the West African nation since 2019, urging them to connect with their African roots and also to invest in the country. American Chaz Kaiser has built a support system helping fellow African Americans, especially women, settle in Ghana and to nurture their ideas for business. Sinan Todd reports from Accra, Ghana.
Chaz Kaiser first arrived in Ghana in 2016 while serving in the U.S. diplomatic corps. 3 years later, she relocated to the West African country with her then 4-year-old daughter.
I came because I realized just the enormous opportunity there is, especially for Black Americans, in terms of entrepreneurship and building businesses in Ghana, and because I just thought it would be an awesome place for my daughter to grow up.
Kaiser was joined by her family in 2020 and launched businesses soon after. She has seen an influx of African Americans moving to Ghana and wants it to continue.
So there's so many women, especially so many Black women, who want to visit Ghana. But the first question they have is it safe? Yes, it's safe. So I wanted to provide a safe and soft landing pad for Black women wanting to experience Ghana and wanting to network and meet new people. And I wanted to make it as easy as possible.
Kaiser's social enterprise, Serenity House Ghana, provides accommodation, counseling and workspaces for solo women travelers looking for spaces to rest, work and learn. A patron of the facility is wellness practitioner Simone Hardy from Chicago. She is looking to relocate to Ghana in June to launch her online business. She says she wanted to get away from America's gun violence.
There's mass shootings. I know people personally who have been in mass shootings. You know, it's not a safe place, and especially for us as African Americans, we don't feel safe. So we are also searching for that void, and the peace, the serenity that you will find in Ghana, it's not something that you're going to experience in the U.S.
While official numbers have not been provided, diaspora groups say thousands of Americans have emigrated to the country in recent years. The Diaspora Affairs Office says newcomers have ventured into a wide range of business fields, including technology, real estate, transportation, and entertainment. The Ghanaian government says it is providing incentives for immigrants to live and invest in the West African country.
Give them the same opportunities in terms of access to land, in terms of opportunities to do business, everything. Give them that citizenship that will enable them to know that they are also Ghanaians.
In a region troubled by coups, Ghana has been an oasis of stability, holding elections every 4 years with smooth transfer of power. Ghana's government says it hopes an influx of African American immigrants will boost the country's economic vitality.
The exposure that they have been given, their intelligence, their network back home to enable us to, help out in our development. So that's socio-economic development and everything that we talk about is all embodied and capsuled in this approach.
Kaiser says she hopes more Black women like herself will respond to Ghana's appeal. Sana Anutod for VOA News, Accra, Ghana.
Ivory Coast loses a lot because it does not add value to its cocoa beans before exporting the rich pods. Chocolate maker and founder of Chocovi, Vivienne Kwame, is changing the story with her fine chocolate, which she makes, showing patriotism to her nation.
It was love at first sight for Vivienne Kwame when, as a teenager growing up in Ivory Coast, she first saw cocoa trees with ripe pods on their trunks that reminded her of babies clinging to their mothers' backs. She decided cocoa would be a part of her life, and in 2021 she set up her own company, Chocovi, to make and sell chocolate. My goal is to show to the eyes of the world that we can make good chocolate with our quality beans. As I like to say, there can be no chocolate without cocoa. Ivory Coast is the world's top producer of cocoa beans, but the vast majority is exported to be processed elsewhere, with Ivorians missing out on the added value. I went to Italy to get trained in the process of transforming cocoa beans to the finished product. After I returned, the adventure of Chocovi began. Chocovi is one of only a small number of companies making chocolate locally. So far, Kwame and her 5 employees are processing about 2 tons of cocoa per year and selling at stalls and malls in the commercial capital, Abidjan. But she is seeking investors to scale up. Philomena Dable, a customer at a mall, was impressed with both form and content. I tasted the chocolate. It's pure, it's natural. This box, with the national colors of Ivory Coast, it's wonderfully presented. I love it. Vivienne expresses her patriotism through her elaborate packaging, with some chocolate bars shaped like a map of Ivory Coast, and others wrapped in paper decorated with images of the country's beauty spots and cultural traditions.
U.S. educators are debating the merits and risks of a new free artificial intelligence tool called ChatGPT, which students are using to write passable high school aces. So far, there isn't a reliable way to catch cheating. Matt Dibble has the story.
Since its release in 2022, an artificial intelligence-powered writing tool called ChatGPT has won instant acclaim, but has also raised concerns, especially on school campuses. High school student Galvin Fickus demonstrated how entering a short command can generate a summary of Jane Eyre, a book she was assigned to read.
I think it did a pretty good job, honestly.
Some teachers, like Lupalette Taylor, are concerned the freely available tool could be used by students to do their homework for them and undermine learning.
The critical thinking that we all need as human beings, and the creativity, and also the benefit of having done something yourself and saying, I did that.
Across the U.S., school systems are choosing to restrict access to ChatGPT on their computers and networks. Developed by San Francisco-based OpenAI, ChatGPT is trained on a vast amount of language data from the internet. When prompted, the AI generates a response using the most likely sequence of words, creating original text that mimics human thought.
There's no what we call a source document, right, or a smoking gun to look to say, yes, this looks like it was lifted from that.
Annie Cecchitelli is Chief Product Officer for Turnitin, an academic integrity service used by educators in 140 countries. Turnitin's anti-plagiarism software checks the authenticity of a student paper by scanning the internet for possible matches. But when AI writes text, each line is novel and unique, making it hard to detect cheating. There is, however, one distinguishing feature of AI writing.
They tend to write in a very, very average way. Humans all have idiosyncrasies. We all deviate from average one way or another. So we're able to build detectors that look for cases where an entire document or an entire passage is uncannily average.
Turnitin's ChatGPT detector is due out later this year. Wang says keeping up with AI tools will be an ongoing challenge that will transform education.
A lot of things that we hold as norms and a status quo are going to have to shift.
AI may become acceptable for some uses in the classroom, just as calculators eventually did. Teacher Steve Wright was impressed when his student used ChatGPT to create a study guide for her calculus class.
You know, if ChatGPT can make us like throw up our hands and say, like, no longer can I ask a student to regurgitate a process, but now I'm going to have to actually dig in and watch them think to know if they're learning, that's fantastic.
In schools and elsewhere, it seems clear that AI will have a role in writing the future. Matt Dibble for VOA News, Oakland, California.
Well, and that's our show for today. You can find all the continent's top news and world news online at voaafrica.com. Check it out. I'm Vincent McCory in Washington. Channels Television has our last word.
We look forward to bringing you another show next week. Remember, channelstv.com is your source for news and other programming. Thank you for watching. I'm Bukola Koka. Goodbye.